I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. This is This Week
in Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting. The low-key, understated Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter. Next Level D1. See his fine work on TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And of course, this segment is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express, they're a problem. So I'm trying to eat kind of like healthy right now, and I'm not eating out a lot.
Why? It's not TV season.
I'm not eating out a lot, right? And I pass a Chicken Express like every day. And bro, the struggle to not jerk the wheel into the drive-through lane, the very quick and convenient drive-through lane, is very strong right now.
Shout out to the Arlington Chicken Express.
Oh,
That's
really?
the one I had this weekend after the Under Armour camp.
Oh, yeah?
So, seriously, like, you guys think that sometimes we're putting on for Chicken Express. It couldn't be further from the truth.
Bro, we haven't even checked the contract. The contract may have expired. Like,
yeah, honestly.
I attend an event, and it is straight to Chicken Express. It's like inseparable from my heart and football now.
One of the things that I appreciate about living in Texas, besides everything, but one of the things I appreciate about living in Texas, in Chicken Express country, is that there's not one everywhere, but there's one everywhere you need it to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going on a road trip that we're going to say is 3 hours, you're absolutely going to pass by one of them.
It's like the perfect example was whenever you and I were coming back
from 7 on 7.
From 7 on 7.
On your birthday.
On my birthday. And like we were hungry and we were driving through
Hearn.
We were driving through Hearn, and like suddenly on the horizon was a Chicken Express. I was like, "You've never let me down, Chicken Express."
we saw it's like the sun's coming up, like the yellow. We see the yellow oval.
That flying chicken kind of rises on the horizon.
You hear the heavens sing.
I ate at the Hearn Chicken Express on the way in
nice.
to College Station that year.
Yeah.
But it was eaten on the ride. Whenever I showed up, I had gravy pants. I had gravy pants.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough scene, but it's worth it.
Never go full.
Love you, Chicken Express. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers and Next Level Athlete. A lot to get to in this week's roundup. We'll start with our prospect on the rise. Our prospect on the rise going to the Waco area, to Waco Conley, talk about their soon-to-be senior defensive back, Jelani McDonald, who picked up an offer this week from Oklahoma State. That adds on to a list that includes Arkansas, Texas Tech, and SMU. This is a guy who is playing QB for Connolly.
Yep.
But at the next level, you think he's going to switch over to the defensive side.
Yeah, look how long his legs are. I mean, he is a rangy dude and started to really blow up here in the last couple of weeks. A lot of schools that I consider as ones that really do a great job with evaluation work have extended him an offer recently. And he impressed me at the Under Armour camp that was held at Arlington Martin this weekend as well. I had the great opportunity to see him work out with the defensive back group, because most of his highlight tape is at quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to scout him going through the DB drills. And despite his length and range, he's pretty quick in and out of his breaks. And to me, his frame potential is through the roof as well. Oklahoma State, I think, offered him as a cornerback, but I kind of look at him and see a safety in person. Mm-hmm. So I think you can say defensive back. I kind of lean towards safety, but certainly a guy that has a lot of skill sets that translate well over to the defensive side of the football. We'll just have to see who offers him next.
He was also, I believe, a key part of the Waco Conley basketball team, which made a run. Were they at State? Yeah, they came very close. I know they came close to State, at least.
But this is true. I think he averaged around 15 points a game on the hardwood.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he's a
athlete.
He can do a little bit of everything, and so it's no wonder that people are starting to wake up to Jelani McDonald, the outstanding defensive back, athlete, do-it-all guy from Waco Conley. Let's maneuver on over to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week going down Houston way to C.E. King in beautiful Sheldon ISD. It's very weird because we have it listed as Houston CE King, but
Yeah.
like the UIL list is like Sheldon King, and I'm like, it's weird. Anyway, their defensive end Dylan Spencer has committed this week to Texas. He had offers from all over the place, including places like A&M, LSU, Baylor, Houston, and USC. We've got him number 40 in the DCTF Hot 100. You have him as the number 8 ranked defensive end in the class of 2023. This guy is versatile, and this guy can chase you down. This is a big, beefy defensive end too. You talk about like speed rushers.
Right.
He's got that, but he's got some size to him as well.
Well, when he first broke out onto the scene at West Orange Stark as a freshman, I think he was playing wide receiver, but he was one of those guys that was 6'3", 200 pounds, 210 pounds. Out there running around and making waves. He's been on the radar since then. He's a guy that we've known about for a while, and as he's grown up in a few different programs now, he's continued to get better on the defensive front. 6'4", 240. I project him as a strong side defensive end, but I wouldn't rule it out that he could add some more weight and possibly move inside and play some as well.
Play like a 3-tech?
Yeah, at the next level. He's a guy who can create some mismatches, and he'll get after the quarterback and make offensive tackles, have nightmares about wanting to match up with him on his high school tape. But I think his true value in college is going to be as a run-stuffing specialist. He's a guy who I think can track the ball. He shows good chase and run down from the backside, which I think is really impressive. And a good addition to the Texas Longhorns 2023 class. He joins fellow 4-star Jamel Johnson as the 2 loan commitments right now for Texas. Things have, I guess, slowed down with commitments. We haven't seen like the flurry that we saw about a month ago with everybody making commitments left and right. So maybe we're starting to see, the dam break a little bit, and we'll see some of these guys start to come off the board.
Well, he's bounced around a little bit. He played at West Orange Starks freshman year, Katie Taylor his sophomore year, and then now at CE King. A guy who can be a key part of that Longhorns defense. And, a credit to Texas, they were his first offer. They were his first, at least his first Power 5 offer, but they were his first offer, and so getting in the door early probably gave them an advantage in being able to lock in Dylan Spencer, the defensive end from Houston CE King. Talking This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete, here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. Let's maneuver on over to our underclassman of the week. Our underclassman of the week is soon to be junior.
Most people say bless you, they don't just stare.
Bless you.
Thank you, Grev.
I was just looking for the words. I'm sorry for that, Greg. Let's go to our underclassman of the week. Our underclassman of the week is Fort Bend Hightower, soon-to-be junior running back Jeremy Payne. Jeremy Payne picked up big-time offer this week from Texas A&M. He's got a couple of other Power 5 offers like Indiana, Oregon State, Baylor. But this is a big-time offer for this young man there at Fort Bend Hightower. And you've got to think that this is at least the biggest offer on the board for him right now.
Yeah, he's got some decent offers. Baylor, Houston, SMU, UTSA, Indiana, and Oregon State were some of his FBS level, P5 level offers. But I really like Jeremy Payne because he's a versatile running back. He's a guy at 5'10", 5'11", 170, 175 pounds, who can do a little bit of everything out of the backfield. And Hightower is no stranger to producing top-level college products now. They always have a lot of guys. Another wide receiver there to watch on that roster, Zion Taylor. I think he'll be a big-time recruit as well. But this is a guy who I think meshes in well with the Texas A&M offense because he can do so many different things out of the backfield. And if they were to land him, I think that he would fit into that scheme fairly decently. They've also extended an offer to McKinney, 2024 running back Brian Jackson. And these two guys could be on the same commitment list without an issue. They're kind of different types of styles, different types of running backs in general. I would explain Jeremy Payne as an all-purpose back, but I think his best days are clearly in front of him, too, from a developmental standpoint. He's really good on tape, but I think he's one of these guys to really watch out for on the field as a junior. I think he's a breakout star in Texas high school football in general. A lot of people probably don't know his name, but they probably will by the end of next season.
Yeah, he was a key part of that team that ran all the way to the regional finals last year. And here's a guy who, again, you mentioned like the versatility, his ability, as a receiver outside of the pocket or outside of the backfield, I think is really impressive. This is a good example of something you're going to see. Like he's a guy who, when you get him into space, he's going to be able to make some plays.
Right.
And that's really, if you take a look at the way that A&M likes to use their running backs, we've talked about how, like, when they get receivers that commit to them, it's like, okay, well, the numbers may not necessarily be there at the same way that they're at Mississippi State or these high-flying offenses. They use their running backs and their tight ends so well that getting them out into space and using them as extra receivers. And so that's why he feels like a good fit schematically, and I can see why A&M would be interested in a guy like Jeremy Payne.
Agreed. And just for the Fort Bend folks listening to the show today, he reminds me a lot of former Fort Bend Marshall running back DeAndre Washington.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah. That's a good comp. So I like that. Okay. So round it all out with our recruit of the week. Our recruit of the week, going back up the DFW Metroplex to talk about Arlington Martin 2023, soon-to-be senior cornerback Jay Toviano. You told me I could just call him Jay.
Yeah, just call him Jay.
Jay. Hey, Jay. He picked up an invitation this week to the Under Armour All-America game. He was at the Under Armour camp there and put on a fantastic performance. We've got him as the top cornerback in the state in the class 2023. We've got him as the number 6 overall prospect in the DCTF Hot 100. He's got offers from, he's got every offer. He's got every offer. So, like, name a school, like a big-time school, he's got it. And here is a guy who you think may be on the verge of narrowing things down.
Yeah, we spoke to him a little bit at the UA camp, kind of got an update, and he said that he hopes to have that cut down list in the next few weeks. Right now, he's on an unofficial visit to Georgia as we speak, so he's out seeing the Dogs program. He also revealed that, and spoiler, you can go out and check the full article for Jay Toviano from the UA camp. We have it at texasfootball.com/recruiting. But he mentioned that Texas A&M would be one of the schools that makes his final cut down list. So, I thought that was pretty big news if you're an Aggies fan. Alabama, Ohio State, LSU certainly in the mix there. So he's going to go to one of the top programs in the country, no doubt.
There's no doubt about it, and you can see his playmaking ability, what he's able to do there for Bob Wager's squad there at Arlington Martin.
Before you make your transition here, we do have a question for Powers.
From who?
From Rob Hadaway.
I told you to turn off the comments.
No. Lots of opinions out there on Arch Manning coming to Texas. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, turn off the comments now, right?
I was about to ask him about Arch Manning.
No, you were not. Anyway, Grev, the floor is yours.
Well, I would give, like, a lot of my Arch Manning information comes from just hearing fellow recruiting analysts talk about him while ever we're on the scene. And I think that there's always been a lot of smoke behind Arch Manning to Texas. But I think you have to watch out for some other schools as well. LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss. There's some other programs in the mix there that are definitely going to be rolling out the red carpet for him. Seems to always have a good time when he comes to Texas, and they could put together a pretty strong class if they were able to woo guys like Arch Manning, Reuben Owens, and Jonte Cook all onto the same commit list. And I know that that's really what they're working hard for. So what I'd watch out for is they have a couple of big unofficial visit weekends coming up. The next, I think, April 2nd, the 26th. They have some big-time junior day events, I guess is what you would call them, coming up, and see what positive momentum happens from those.
So would you say, because you mentioned 3 names right there, one of them from out of state in Arch Manning, but then you were saying Jonte Cook from DeSoto and Reuben Owens, the running back from El Campo. Would you say that is probably the triumvirate that Texas is targeting right now and would represent the real core of the class if they're able to bring in that trio?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's they're trying to inspire other recruits around the potential that those 3 guys could be in this class. And I will say, I'm going to expand on the Arch Manning thing just a little bit here because I found something really interesting as it relates to his recruitment. I actually overheard quite a few of the Texas Longhorns specific media asking recruits at the UA camp, if Arch Manning were to come to Texas, how would that impact their recruitment? And not just receivers and running backs, but all positions. I don't think that I've covered a cycle of recruiting where one player's recruitment has such an impact on others. Like Arch Manning is such a big name.
He's a tipping point.
He could be a tipping point for a lot of big-time recruits to potentially look into Texas, but I think maybe we're putting a little bit too much stock in whether he comes to Texas or not. Will it really affect what Jonte Cook wants to do? It could in a small way, but I don't think Jonte Cook is necessarily waiting for one guy to determine what he's going to do in the recruiting process. Texas does have the former number one player in the nation on its roster at quarterback right now, in Quinn Ewers. So
I feel like maybe a one-off scenario where it's a quarterback receiver duo that would happen, but I don't think the second receiver in line is going to base everything off of that.
Because you see that, and that's what's so strange about this is. And look, these guys have all run together at these camps and things like that. They're not strangers to one another. But I would understand it if, like, I'm picking it. I just happened to get Duncanville's questionnaire just now.
Right.
So, like, if Amari Abor was like, hey, I really want to play with, a Jordan Crook. Like, wherever Jordan Crook goes, I want to go and play with him. I would get that because they are teammates and they understand each other. Maybe they have a personal bond. But, like, the idea that, like, Reuben Owens is going to look around and be like, well, there's this kid over – where is he from? Mississippi? Louisiana. This guy from Louisiana who, like, I've met twice and seems like a nice guy that I'm going to, like, follow him and do what he says. I just find that a little far-fetched in my opinion. I don't talk to Reuben Owens.
And just pulling up, because he's not a Texas-based prospect, so it's not a guy that I'm super familiar with covering, but just pulling up his 24/7 sports profile, he has Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, and Texas listed as warm interest. So Texas seems to be one of four, but they're certainly going against a trio of SEC schools who do really good in Louisiana. And I kind of agree with you. And I thought Abor was a great example because he was really good friends with Ewers, who was at Ohio State, but Abor still went to Ohio State.
Or, like, it would be another thing, too, if maybe, like, Dalton Brooks eventually ends up saying, hey, I'm going to Texas because my cousin Jonathan Brooks is there. Like, that's a connection that makes sense.
Right.
They didn't play together, but they're related, and it's like, okay, you can see that.
That's an excellent example.
Thank you.
What I will say is a quarterback in general can be a strong foundation of a recruiting class. That's really good to get a quarterback commitment early on in the process so you can build pieces around them. That's not a question mark, because in college football, quarterback is the biggest question mark. If you don't have a good quarterback, you can't compete for championships. So to have like a building block or a foundation in a recruiting class is great, but to get the number one player in the country who is a quarterback to be that foundation is even better, right? So if they get him, it's going to be even better. They're going to be hyping that up.
And here's the thing. The other thing for me, I'm sorry, we've gone on a lot about a player who's not from Texas, right? Let's take Jonte Cook. And obviously, Jonte Cook, as a receiver, has a vested interest in playing with an excellent quarterback, right? That's an easy connection to make. In the same way that if you're a running back, you have a vested interest in playing behind a good offensive line, right? You're not going to go play for UConn because UConn's offensive line, I presume, sucks. So what I'm saying is, I would understand if Jonte Cook's like, I want to go play with a great quarterback. Well, Jonte Cook is looking at Alabama, Louisville, Ohio State, A&M, and Texas. If you go any of those places, you're going to play with a good quarterback.
Right.
You know what I mean? He doesn't have Florida Atlantic. I'm just picking on Florida Atlantic for some reason.
Your beloved Owls.
Florida Atlantic on his list. He doesn't have, a program that's down in the dumps that's having trouble recruiting. That's the thing for me is that, yes, I understand you want to play for a great quarterback. There's going to be a great quarterback at Alabama. That's a guess. Right. That's a projection. There's going to be a great quarterback at Ohio State. There's going to be a great quarterback at A&M. There's going to be a great quarterback at Texas. That, to me, I don't know. I feel like this idea that they're going to wait and see where Arch Manning goes and then, we're all going to flock there like he's Tom Brady. You know what I mean? I think we get NFL mind. It's like, Tom Brady goes to the Bucs, and then suddenly the Bucs get Rob Gronkowski, and all of these guys want to go ring chase. I just don't necessarily think that recruiting is that same kind of apples to apples comparison.
I didn't hear one recruit answer, "Oh yes, I'm waiting for."
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
You're making your own decision.
I have a calendar alarm set for his decision day.
It's not like if Arch Manning goes to Texas that like Reuben Owens is gonna be like, well, you know what? I hated Austin, But you know, I guess I got to go there. I don't know. It's everyone's journey is different.
They've recruited me as a linebacker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
They want me to kick, and it's like, oh, I guess I'll have to go.
Signed
there.
up to be the deep snapper.
Anyway.
Now that I just hope that UT fans that are huge recruiting fans, because so much has been built up around this recruitment in particular, is that if he doesn't come to Texas, are you going to be sad if Texas has a top 5 class national? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, is that going to be? Is he the make or break recruit, or is Quinn Ewers now like good enough that you don't care about Arch Manning?
Right.
People who are legitimately into recruiting are not going to be upset about it. It's the very C-level fan, I feel like, that will be like, we didn't get him, burn it all down.
There
type
you
of
go,
thing.
Rob Hadaway.
The other, who knew? But the other thing, and I'm sorry, we'll wrap it up here because I know we want to get to our guest. But the thing that I look at is, especially with Texas, because they feel like a lot of fans that I talk to feel like they haven't had that guy at quarterback.
Right.
They've been waiting. Even like when they had Sam Ehlinger, who was great, but like was a different kind of quarterback. They haven't had that big time number one
Since
QB since Colt McCoy. I think there's a little bit of pent up frustration, and they've put it on this particular recruitment.
Well, I mean, the fact that we're talking about him speaks volumes.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's on the tip of
This is the
everyone's tongue.
first, and this is the second time we've talked about him on the show, and I think he was the first out-of-state prospect that we've really kind of dived into here.
He's not from Texas. I don't even remember his name. Anyway.
Who?
But, you know, that's just the thing, is that you don't know. I don't think there's necessarily this idea that recruits are going to follow one another.
And if it is, it's one-off.
But one guy I will follow is Greg Powers.
There we
Follow
go.
him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1C. His fine work on TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Powers, stick around. Introduce the next segment.
I'll be here.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.